going to attempt to do a very brief and somewhat concise recap of Autobahn. This is the South Circuit configuration, 2.1 miles roughly. This is in preparation for the upcoming June champcar, second weekend of June. Week from today, boys will be testing on this circuit, so this is me driving, I think, my second session after a few laps earlier on in the day. This is still a pretty green track for this time of year, this time of day, but we're going to take Lehel, our new driver, out for a run so that he can feel the capability of the car, feel the limit of the grip. We were running slightly high tire pressures in this. I think when they were up to temperature they were running about 40 psi, so that's huge. We could really tell the difference as well. The tires were protesting a lot, making a lot of noise, not giving a huge amount of feedback. There was no deformation of the tire wall as well, the side wall, sorry, of the tire. So bringing the tire pressures down helped the tires to warm up, and we learned that 26 is probably our ceiling for that. So let's come around onto the back straight here. 13, 14, you want to queue yourself up for a great exit. It's fast out of 14 there, let the car run wide. This is coming down onto the start finish. It's obviously, you're not going to have many cars passing on the right hand side, so it's fine to move right and then to move left, cover over the pit exit, and we're looking for a late apex into one, let the car track out not too far so that we can get tucked in right across for a short shift up into fourth. That transition left to right is our trigger for turning in left. It should be flat out, let the car run out towards $1 Million corner wall. Again, carrying a lot of speed through for late apex, let the car run wide, settle the car, braking early because we're on the throttle before the apex at 5, letting the car track out. It's another slow corner in. We're trying to scrub off speed without understeering the car so that we're on the throttle for a late apex at 6, so they're not running too wide. Flat out through the kink, coming down to turn 8, braking 250 maybe, down a couple gears, maybe just down one from fourth. No need to get up on the curbs, let the car track out wide. You're on the throttle pretty early because you have a quick run down to 9, and then keeping it right and tight because we want to spot our exit before we hit the gas, out through patience and down the back straight. Very long straight, obviously slow in as fast as possible, so you want to stay right at that chicane until you have that early sight, so you can be on the throttle nice and early. Braking down from probably 350. We rode up on the curbs here. This was, some advice that we'd followed from others, which is probably ill-advised for us. We put extra strain on our wheel bearings, which is not going to be advisable for an endurance race, so we're going to avoid the curbs. I know you'll see a ideal line where I'm clipping the curbs, but they're very tall Autobahn, so we're going to try and avoid them. There's a nice little indication here. It's just a tiny little bit of dirt at the end of that apex. Same thing here, a little bit of dirt. We're just going to touch that, dip a toe in there, and that's just our, those are our apexes, nice and late, so that we're able to give ourselves time to transition the car into the next corner. Again, we'll carry speed in there, probably slightly early on the apex meant that it kicked us out. You may hear me lift a little bit towards the exit. That's not ideal, that's not what we want. That just means I'm scrubbing off, probably carrying a little bit, 1 or 2 mile an hour, too much speed coming into the corner. Same there, I early apex that and that spits you out. It's a really good example there. If you go back and watch that early apex put me right on the outside of the track at the kink. Same thing here, nice and early on the throttle, kick us out. Here's a good example for 9 and patience. A little bit of rumble strip on the right there. You can see the dirt as people have gone off track, trying to keep right for as long as possible. Really no benefit to riding the curb there. It's so big, it's just going to unsettle the car. So avoiding the curbs pretty much all round at all costs is going to give you a good chance of getting a stable, consistent lap time. Like for example here, I'm riding the curbs. It's not only uncomfortable for a passenger in the seat, but it's it's going to raise the attritional level on the car. So I'm not focused on the apex there at 13, purely the one at 14. I'm just going to dip my toe on that, so let the car run wide towards the apex in the wall there. Crossing the start finish line close to 100 miles an hour before we dive into our braking zone. Probably could lift and coast a little bit. Again, slightly early on the apex has kicked us out a little bit wider than we'd like. Going to hug into the right hand side straight, short shift fourth, and you can see the car just unsettle a little bit as we transition left to right. So it's important that we get that shift absolutely done and dusted by during that transition. Slightly better late apex there means that we're not riding out so far late into the corner. This is a really nice corner, carrying speed in, trailing the brake off and onto the throttle so we can run wide there. You'll see the speedo, carrying lots of speed, 80 miles an hour at the exit. It's a fast corner. Again, slightly early on the apex there means that we're spat out a little bit close to the edge of the track at 6, but not having to lift. Don't need to touch that. Apex at 7. Braking down hard. You can short shift up to 5th if you want after the kink. It's really not a huge benefit. It's just purely down to your preference. It's not going to be a time thing, it'll just be an attritional thing. It's at your discretion whether you want to do that. It also means that when you hard braking down from 250, 300 feet into turn 8 that you're heel toe down shifting twice, which I enjoy doing, but over 2 hours I'm probably not going to do continuously. So we're lapping very quick, we're lapping relatively quick. See, I'm riding the curbs there, letting the car track out wide. That's absolutely fine. Trying not to position the car too far over left. It's easy to dip a rear tire off the track there, and in a braking zone as that is coming into 13, you'll see on my next lap I may even get a slight rear lockup into there, which definitely destabilizes the car coming through that double apexer. So just be wary of that as you're driving towards that corner worker station at 13. Just going to use the rear camera as well for a bit, not just because we've got a nice M3 coming up behind us, but also to give you an idea of the position of the track on car, the position of the car on track, and the rear axle, the rear end of the car coming through the corners. So you'll be able to see us just like running one tire over and trying to be smooth. It should give you an idea of how smooth the car is transitioning as well, looking at the rear of the car. That's ultimately what we're looking for. That's what's going to give us pace, and that's what's going to save us energy in the cockpit as well. Braking, what was that, maybe 280 down 2 gears. Slightly early turn in means that we're clipping quite a bit of the apex there, letting it run wide, running out, and I guess we'll leave it up to the M3. We'll give them a point by down the back straight, and then we'll allow ourselves just to follow on for a lap at Autobahn and see if you can pick your own little markers for turn in, for braking, and see what works for you. coming through 13 on the previous lap, we went a little bit off onto the grass, lost speed coming out of there. You can see from the delta we're just scrubbing off hundredths of a second there. Lots of mistakes on that lap, but it still got us a sub 142. We obviously aren't looking to run at that pace. We're looking for lap count in the race. That's all that matters. You know, we want to find consistency, and so hopefully now looking on with this, we'll use both cameras so that we can look for a little bit of consistency. Looking for your markers like there, 150, braking, trailing in, getting that late apex onto the throttle nice and early. That's okay to run the car a little bit wide, but it's going to pull you off. That's off camber. Same thing here, onto the throttle nice and early. Try not to play around with that too much. Those curbs are off camber. Don't carry too much speed into here. We want to late apex that. That's too early. It's going to spit us off. We'll run the gators at the end of that. Not ideal. The kink. Don't play with that curb. You can see there. It's a big turn in as well. Probably too early hitting the apex there. You want to have a good straight run here so that you're on the brakes and you have a nice amount of time to turn in. That's going to be a challenge for you, is dealing with traffic in this slow section of the track. You see these are pretty quick laps, but the amount of damage it did to our tires is huge. Even just doing this track day, it took a lot of shoulder life out of our tires. So we're not looking for lap times like this. We're looking for 150 as a high end, as a fast lap. It's going to be more how do you deal with traffic to keep consistently in those low 150s so that we're not unsettled by traffic. There are going to be cars riding these curbs, boom, 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 all four tires off. So you're going to have to paint a picture in your mind of what's going on around you all the time, with the slow traffic up ahead, the fast cars coming in, turning in earlier than you. Don't prioritize other people's races, but definitely try to learn how they drive over the space of a weekend so that you can cooperate with them, especially knowing what you know about the curbs here, and also that a lot of these corners are fast out, so you've got time to make up. Don't try to barrel into corners. We're trying to get good speed coming out of them, and you'll have a blast. Just gutted that I won't be there to do it with you, but I have full faith in you guys to have the most amount of fun and extract the most out of the car.